Welcome to What's the Deal with Sam? Starring Sam Lilly. Join Sam as he discusses a wide variety of topics.
Bad mail.
Now let's start the show.
Thank you. What's the deal with the Nintendo Switch 2 and prices? It's like the 3DS with the ground? This is more of a ranty, rambly, whatever the fuck thing, I guess. And my hair is great. But, basically, there's been a lot of things to talk about with the Switch 2, and I thought I'd throw my 2 cents in here, which, I don't know how much that's worth. 2 cents probably won't get me much on the eShop at all. But, the thing is, so with the Switch 2, there's the whole thing of, prices. They weren't not really sure where they're landing on it. They keep kind of hemming and hawing, and to do with other, global things, tariffs and all this other stuff, and the cost of production and whatnot. And so they're trying to look at how to make it cost, be effective, and, how people will buy it and they don't lose a bunch of money, but also, all these things to consider. And, I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole lot about this because I'm an idiot, so I'm not I don't really understand how a lot of this will really work, and what's good or bad, or what they can and cannot do, and how that affects all of the business and the economy and bullshit. But, I mean, what do I know about the economy? No one ever talks about, the A economy. I mean, a lot of people have economies. We have, we have, a C economy, a D economy. We have an A economy, the best economy, our huge economy, one of the best, There's a lot worse ones out there. They're a lot worse. Ours is good. No, but what I'm saying is that, and I'm saying that, people are kind of already pissed off about the idea that the Switch, when it was announced, the Switch 2 would be $450. And I think that price is fair because of all of the stuff you're getting for it, right? It's going to have a lot more power. It's going to have more performance. It's going to have all the stuff that people really wanted out of this anyways. So I don't know why they thought it was magically going to cost the same price that the Switch did and just have all of these things. If it was still $300, I think the Switch 2 would have been a lot weaker, and it would have just left people, with another underpowered console at launch and watching it age rapidly as it went along. I don't think that would have been a good idea. So I do think that $450, while it doesn't sound like a steal, it sounds fair. It's reasonable. It's. I think that makes sense for what we're getting. But I'll also say, some of the other stuff isn't necessarily the greatest for this, right? Game prices, people are all like, oh shit, dude. Fucking Mario Kart World is going to be $80. New game price is now $80. That is insane. I think that's maybe a bit of a stretch. I do understand that that's a lot of money. It is. And the thing is, I don't like it either, but games have already been going that way. When we jumped from $60, well, basically to look back a bit, because people want to say, oh, games have been $60 forever, blah, 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 blah. No, shut up. You're not really being honest when you say that, or you don't understand what you're talking about, because, yes, games have been $60 this whole time, but you used to get an entire full finished game for $60, and then they started making packs of DLC and microtransactions and lots of different monetization efforts to make it so that a game in its totality no longer costs just $60. It's already gone up to get the entire game full of all of its experiences that are tied to that game cost a lot more money than $60 now, and that's been the case for quite a while. So upping the actual price of the game itself is something that they obviously tried to stay away from, and now they just have all this other extra bullshit monetization stuff on top of now the games themselves. The base games, not the whole games, the base games are now higher than $60. They jumped to $70, and people were like, I don't like that, but they kept buying it. And so now $80 looks like it's kind of moving towards the new standard. It's probably going to be $80 unless people don't buy the games at that price, right? However, Mario Kart World, I get the feeling, I understand the feeling where you're like, why is that $80? I understand, Mario or Zelda or Pokemon, but Mario Kart, just a racing game, I get it. I understand why it feels that way. But when you consider that Mario Kart has been the best seller for the fucking Switch and the Wii U, and also is a really good seller just every time it comes out, it does kind of make sense that they want to make as much money as they possibly can off of Mario Kart, because that's one that a lot of people will buy. So they have the ability to make lots of money off of it. And that's probably where they want to make up some of their losses for maybe a console price that is not, I don't know if they're selling this, at cost, if they're making any profit on consoles, or if they're actually selling it at a loss and they're trying to make it up with the software. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know if anybody has those or if they release those. So hard to say for sure. The thing I will agree with people on here is that the Nintendo Switch 2 welcome tour, whatever the fuck thing, the tech demo for the Switch 2, basically, that thing is, I am understandably, like everyone else, upset at the idea of this being something that costs money. Just because, like, you got pack-ins before. Like, Wii Sports really spoiled us. We got Wii Sports, and it was just with our Wii. It wasn't like, oh shit, I wish I had something, like, I need to get this and a game. If you just got the console, you still had something to play right out of the box. And, like, the Wii U came with Nintendo Land. The Switch already, I guess, set that precedent of not having a launch title, and that also, like, a pack-in. You had to buy a bundle, which will cost more than just the system. Because it came with like a major game. The closest we had to a tech demo there was 1-2-Switch, which didn't really hold up anyway, so it might as well have been a fucking pack-in. It basically was the tech demo, and it was dumb that wasn't packed in with it also. But on top of that, we're looking at the Switch 2, and it's like, well, now they have a tech demo kind of thing that should be a pack-in that now not only is not a pack-in, but costs money. It is cheaper than 1-2-Switch, at least. It's not like that expensive. But it's also kind of sucks that it's not a physical game either. And there's a lot of contention around, physical games and, the game key card, code in a box, all of these different kinds of variations of how you're getting your games and like full digital, all these different things. People are discussing this and the death of physical media and all this. And I don't really want to jump into that because that's a whole can of worms that I don't think I have a whole lot of much of a horse in that race. They're gonna do what they're gonna do with these things, and if I'm gonna keep playing games, I'm gonna have to access them whatever way they let me. So I don't feel like I have a whole lot of control over that. And at some point, I can always bow out and just play the stuff I already have, I guess. So I'm not really too concerned about all that shit. But what I am saying is that like, basically like with the game here is that since it's not physical, right, it's a game that you're getting digitally. So you have to buy your Switch 2, know that this game is just out there, and then go to the eShop and buy it for like $10. And it's like, I think if this game was even like 15 or $20 in the store, it would be a lot more appealing because parents will go out and see the Switch 2 and they'll see a game they can get right away. And like, oh shit, there you go. Here's your game. I'll get this because it's not $80. It's only like $15 or $20, right? Okay, cool. I'll get them that cheap game. And I'm sure there'll be competitive prices with other games as well. You can play Switch games on the Switch 2, so it's not like there's not going to be discounted stuff and other things you can get for less money, I guess. But it does seem concerning that $80 might just be the standard, especially since Nintendo's first-party stuff famously doesn't really get discounts very often. It usually is kind of hold its value until it becomes, collectible, and then the value kind of shoots up. So, I understand, like, that one, I guess, makes sense. They should just pack this fucking game in here. Or I think the best option for that is to just pack the game in and be like, hey, okay, so pack the game in for, like, the first year. Have it be, like, a download thing or whatever. It's a software update thing where it's like, oh, yeah, so the first year you're getting it, it just comes with that game, like, pre-downloaded on your system to welcome people to the tour. People going into the eShop are not going to spend their $10 on that. They're going to put it towards an actual full game eventually, especially since you can look up what the Switch 2 does online after everyone else has already played this game. You can just see it that way. So it's not like you really need to buy this piece of software to do this. Another aspect of this, another facet, I think, is the idea like they should do that for the first year. So anyways, this is the same thing, right? The first year, do that, and then like afterwards, do like Wii Sports, where you just make a physical one and sell that to people who didn't have it, get it at launch or whatever, or packaged in or whatever, like when they got their system, can still just separately buy it. And make it like $10 then. I think that would make sense, and then it's also kind of like early, kind of like for people who got the system early, here's your thing. Here's a nice little reward, a little gift for early adopters. But I doubt they're going to do that. They're probably going to stick to their guns, and it's going to be annoying and suck. The other thing with this stuff, though, is the idea that they might still increase the price on the system, and I don't know if they can do that. I mean, like, obviously they technically can, but I feel like that would be sort of a mistake. Like, if the conditions make it so they can't really viably sell it at $450 for the Switch 2, like, console, well, what are they gonna do? In fact, I think right now what they did recently was they actually, spoiler, I'm recording this on like, what the fuck day is this? This is March 17th. So stuff May 17th, sorry. So shit may have changed since now already anyways. It's not like a huge window between like now and when it's going to actually launch. But basically, the thing is, they did already raise the price of a lot of the hardware and stuff around it, the accessories. So they're trying to keep it away from the system, which again, because of the nice really nice display built into it, the motion control things, and there's new Joy Cons and all the other like bits and bobs that go into their special Joy Cons they're putting on there, the dock, and the internal hardware to make stuff run as smoothly and as high res and technical as they do. That stuff costs money. They can't really cut this down probably too much, or they're going to take a huge hit with these consoles, and it's going to actually hurt them the more of them that they sell. But the thing is, they can't really raise the price of the consoles too much, because if they try to do that, well, like I said, there was rumors or something of like they might want to raise it up to like $600 or $700, and it's like, if you make this system $600, you will get a lot of people saying, "Fuck that, I don't want it." That's too much for a game system. I realize you do have a nice little backlog. To backtrack a second for like the Switch 2 tour bullshit, you do have an entire backlog of stuff from your Switch you can play on there if you're upgrading. Whereas you can't really do that with the, you couldn't have done it with the first Switch. But also like, that helps some of the cost. But if you're a newcomer, you want people to switch over to the Switch 2. It's going to be prohibitively expensive to do so. It's going to cost a lot, and I just don't see it happening. I don't see it working out for them that way. Personally, maybe I'm wrong. And so, like, I think the biggest thing to do is, I don't know, like, how do you make that work then if things get worse or whatever? And I think they have a couple of options, and I think that the one option to do is, like, you want to definitely keep the price of the system the same, because you need people, to get their foot in the door. People who don't, you're going to make your money off of what? Your games and your subscriptions mainly, and maybe some of your accessories do. I don't know how those go. So you're not going to be making money off the console itself. You need the platform for people to want to buy the games and the subscriptions and the accessories. So you need them to buy it. So they have to have that still be accessible. But the only way they can really keep that idea alive too, I think, is like, here's the thing. They could raise the price of the system and make that be the price, and then lower it later and pull like a 3DS thing. Or it's like, we're going to lower it later, but the early adopters will get something special that only they get for adopting early. That is an option they have, but it's hard to incentivize people to jump onto it. And so if they still can't get people in the door with that kind of a price cut, what they could probably do is at least temporarily lower prices of games maybe until people have the system, and then jack them back up. They could do that too. I don't know how well that would work for them, but they could maybe do that. Or like, the only other thing is to like prematurely shut down support for the Switch, which I think would be really bad, because like the thing is, people have been comparing this idea to like the Switch 2 to like the Wii U, and it's not to say that it's like the same issues. It's not like, marketing, like it's not a huge marketing failure or anything. I think they focused on the right stuff here. It's things people want. The problem is, the thing is, it's the same in the sense that it's coming off of a really successful system, jumping into a new one that should be getting a lot of the benefits of its predecessor, but ultimately, like, if it ends up failing, it could end up failing like the Wii U did, right? And if it does, the Switch 2 is in a lot harder of a position, because the Wii U, thankfully, when that went under, and it was like doing poorly and everything, and they couldn't quite save it because of how poorly it was mismanaged, they at least had the 3DS to kind of fall back on, and so they really leaned on the 3DS until they could rush the Switch out the door. But with the Switch 2, what we're looking at is like a, if the Switch 2 fails, they're kind of screwed, because they probably don't have anything, as far as I know, they don't have anything else, sitting out here that's almost ready to go. They would have to try to go back to the Switch, which was already, again, rapidly aging. It was underpowered when it launched, and it's definitely showing its age now. The idea that you would try to throw the stuff back onto there and make it just work better somehow it would probably be a losing gambit. They would be kind of fucked. So they really do need people to get the Switch 2 in their hands. We do have some power as gamers, like as the consumers right now. I don't know if we'll really use it though, because everybody who complained about $450 is too much, $80 is insane, blah 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 blah, are still the same people I saw pre-ordering it, as soon as the pre-orders were open. Like, I'm trying to get my pre-order. I'm trying really hard. I can't get my pre-order in. Did you guys pre-order? So I don't have much faith that we're going to get anything that we want. But that's kind of where we are. So that was my big-ass rant on the Switch 2 stuff. While it was relevant with the prices and the shit, before the thing actually comes out, since I won't really get one until Splatoon 4 comes out, and my friend gets it. If my friend gets Splatoon 4 and a Switch 2 to play it, I will then do the same. Other than that, Banjo 3, if that magically comes into existence and is put on the Switch 2, there you go, I'll get it. But, other than that, my Switch basically has to break for me to want to get this. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. But what do you guys think about the Switch 2? Did you pre-order one? Are you excited? What do you like about it? All that stuff. And what do you think about the prices? What do you think the go is? What do you think the strat should be? What do you think the go is? That's a weird way to put it. What is the go-to? And how are to be us are there we in of at? So, that was all I had. I just wanted to rant about it because it was relevant. I had thoughts. And now they're vomiting all over you. And I don't want to talk about the stupid Switch 2 edition shit. Because we will. We're already here. Fuck it. Let's do it live. We're uploaded. But you know what I mean. Fuck it. Fuck you. We'll do you live. So, can we post that on YouTube? So, the other thing with the Nintendo Switch 2 edition stuff, I kind of hate this because they made it confusing. They made shit confusing. Okay? They're like, okay, so here's Nintendo Switch. And they have Switch games. And there's also Nintendo Switch 2 games. And also, all Nintendo Switch games will play on a Switch 2. Cool. Great. That makes sense. Weirdly, they're not going to all get a performance bump automatically, though. They'll have to actually make updates to these games to make them have any kind of bump. Thankfully, recently they did release a little thing on X and said, hey, no, these games and more are going to be getting updates so that they will have better performance on Switch 2. Good. Great. I like that. I'm glad they're doing that. But they still haven't said which games aren't going to be playable on Switch 2. There are a list of games that aren't. I think they haven't really made it super easy to find this list. I think it's out there. People have posted a thing that is that. I don't know where they're finding the link in the first place, how they got to it, but I think there is a list somewhere. But it's not like a tiny list. I think there is a sizable chunk on there of 50 games or something, the last I heard about it. So it would be good to know which ones are not going to work there, especially prior to selling your Switch to get a Switch 2 in case you want to keep all of those games. And the other thing with this, though, is that they have the weird shit where it's here's Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. So basically, when you get a Nintendo Switch 2 Edition version of a game, you get the Switch game and also the Switch 2 game. And essentially, if you already owned the regular version, it'd be it would just update it to the new version. So it's kind of like an in-between thing. So then it's confusing because it's I want this game. It's I don't have a Switch 2. It's no, it's a Switch game. Or it's Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. But how do you know if it's a Switch 2 Edition? Or what plays on Switch, what plays on Switch 2? It's a weird middle ground category that doesn't make a lot of sense. I think they wanted it to, and it doesn't. And it's going to confuse a lot of people when they want to get games for their Switch or their Switch 2. And it's going to be annoying and confusing. And consumers are the ones who are going to be all fucking confused on this, and it's going to end up in people getting games that don't work on their systems yet, or don't work the same way, or whatever, or the incorrect game because they said, I wanted Zelda, the one for Switch 2, and then it's and then they got one that said Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. It's no, that's the Switch one. It's well, it says Switch 2 on it. No, it is a Switch game, but it's a Switch 2 Edition, but I wanted the one that's the new one now that's on the Switch 2 that's just Switch 2. It's confusing, and it's dumb, and I hate it. And why did you do that? Nintendo, why did you choose to Nintendo this again? Why didn't you just do it like a regular person? Why can't you name things like Sony does so we know what the fuck we're getting? Why can't you just do that? Why can't you be normal? Anyways, what's the deal with Nintendo Switch 2? It's like the Wii U with the ground. What's the deal with